All right, looks like we're recording. So thank you everyone for joining. My name is George Kobar. I'm a senior community advocate for the Elastic community team. And this is the second virtual webinar that I've hosted. So from lessons learned from the first meetup, hopefully you'll be able to see the screen a little bit better and that get appreciation for the content. But if you have any questions, definitely leave questions within the chat, something I can stop and answer or wait till the end to do it. And again, one of the things I wanted to present was workplace search from Elastic. It's one of the solutions that's built on top of the Elastic stack or the open source um, Elasticsearch, Kibana, and of course Beats and Logstash that comprises the stack. Workplace, and I'll talk a little about this a little bit later in the presentation, is all about building a solution on top of the stack, and the solution is designed to get you started in using the stack in a quicker way. And while we're talking about like a lot of open source stuff, Workplace Search is one of the paid products, but it's something that we're in beta right now. It's a 30-day trial for you to try out and see if you like. But I kind of used Workplace Search as my second virtual webinar for a couple of reasons. I noticed I talk with a lot of folks that are within the industry working from home now that are used to it, that are either connected through virtual desktops. They don't have their desktops at work, or the laptops are set up a little differently. And talking with a lot of people, they're like, hey, I don't have a good way of finding the documents or the data that I used to have in front of me on my desktop, because now it's spread out everywhere. And how do I do that? So I wanted to talk about a part of the working from home and using Workplace Search to kind of give you that search experience, or how to tie that up. But we'll talk a little bit more into that presentation. So let me go ahead and get started. And I'm going to go ahead, and looks like a couple other folks have joined. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute you if you have any other questions or anything else that comes up. Please feel free to stop. Let's see here. There we go. Okay, so let me go ahead and share my screen. And again, I'm going to turn off video just to save on some bandwidth on my side. And 1 second here. All right, so we'll get started. Again, my name is George Kobar. I'm a community advocate for the Elastic community team, and I want to talk to you about Elastic's Workplace Search, or finding where that document went. I'm on the Elastic Slack channel, which is Elastic Stack, which I'll show you a little bit later on how to get to. But if you have any questions or anything else, please feel free to type them in chat, and I'll try to get that as we're going through this presentation. If you have any want to stay connected to things that I release and content, you can do Twitter at George Kobar and follow me there. Well, to say that it's been interesting these last few months would be a huge understatement. I'm sure everyone's situation is a little different, but many of you are facing the similar challenges like working from home. Hopefully, you've had less meetings, and if you also have kids at home from canceled school, maybe you're doing remote learning, and hopefully that is also going smoothly. And if you're supporting employees remotely, hopefully they're able to find the services and the documents that they need. Some people's organization of documents are highly sophisticated, like this person's. Clearly, we can see that their icons of work, games, and scripts are strategically placed, like that expense report right in the cat's eye. It's no wonder how people can find documents, even if it's local to their computer. But what if the data is spread across different services like Google Drive, or Github, or Dropbox, or OneDrive? Finding these documents that you don't use frequently can be a challenge. On a side note, why are so many logos blue? Well, this is an obvious search problem. How can I find the documents that I haven't used for a while, or how can I find the documents that I need for tomorrow's report or I need to update? I'm spending a lot of my time just looking for documents rather than just working on them. Wouldn't it be easier if you could just have a single page with a search box for your employees can go and type in, or for you to go in and type in what document you're looking for? Well, this is Elastic Workplace Search. It's a unified search platform. And one of the things that Elastic has done for this particular solution is they've packaged a lot of the great capabilities that's already within Elasticsearch. So that can really simplify the deployment and get you or your employees to a place to be able to search for documents in a lot quicker way. So the Elastic Stack, or ELK Stack, is an open source technical foundation for search, which has been created by Elastic. And the workplace search from Elastic is one of the solutions that is built on top of the stack. And on the stack, there are four main components, which on the very bottom, you'll see Beats and Logstash, and that's the ingestion layer. So Beats are lightweight data shippers that send data into Elasticsearch, and Logstash is a server-side data processing pipeline that are both used on the ingestion layer. Next, we have the Elasticsearch, which is that middle tier. And Elasticsearch is a distributed RESTful search engine, an analytics engine, and it's also the data store. The final layer is Kibana at the very top, which is used to visualize your data and also navigate and manage the Elastic Stack. These solutions, which are enterprise search, observability, and security, which are all different use cases and solutions that are built on top of the stack. And of course, these aren't the only use cases that people use for, but these are some of the solutions or turnkey solutions that will really help out you get moving using Elasticsearch a lot quicker. Now, there are a lot of different ways that you can deploy the Elastic Stack, and one of those ways is on a standalone server, for example, on bare metal x86, or maybe you want to run it within a container or any virtualization platform. We've written an open source Kubernetes operator if you want to run the Elastic Stack inside Kubernetes. So that's also an option for you. For our demo today, I'm going to be using our SaaS offering, which is Elastic Cloud. So I'm lazy, to be honest, and I want to focus more on talking about the solution workplace than talking about the stack. But workplace search is also a paid product, so I definitely want to be upfront with that. Whereas what we're looking at now with the Elastic Stack is all open source, free to use. So you're free definitely to build a solution on top of the stack and use that any way that you want. So how do we accomplish this search box that's going to allow us to connect to a lot of different services that hold our data? Well, it's demo time. Let's kind of get into it, and I'll show you how we're going to create this search box for our users. To kind of give you an idea of what we'll be trying to accomplish today, on the left-hand side is just a graphic of a laptop or a desktop. I'm going to be connecting from my desktop into a local workplace search deployment. So I'm going to show you how I installed it and kind of go through that. And then I have GitHub, OneDrive, and Dropbox services that are already configured. My accounts are already set up. But I'm going to walk you through on how to set up an application that Workplace Search uses to be able to authorize against it. And of course, the Workplace Search, my local installation, which happens to just be a virtual machine, will connect into our Elastic Cloud, specifically into our Elasticsearch instance. So I'm going to go ahead and walk you through and provide those details. And again, the purpose of this is just to provide a search box so our users or employees can go ahead and type in the search box to find the documents they're looking for. And the link that's highlighted here, if you want to follow along, is a free trial, and it's something that you can log in, get a username, password. We're going to set up a cloud account just so you can see how easy it is for us to start an Elasticsearch instance, so we can connect our local workplace search installation to it. So we're spending more time talking about the workplace search rather than just talking about the stack that the solution connects to. And if you select this link, it should take you to the free trial. And if you copy your email address and hit Start Free Trial, it should send an email to be verified. So I'm going to go down to my Gmail account here. Go. And then it will hit Verify and Accept. Perfect. And it'll prompt you to set up your password here. So let me go ahead and do that. Actually, no. Here we are. I'll make sure this is strong. Okay, there we go. And we'll go ahead and set that password and log in. And once we're logged in, you should see a little banner that says to start your free trial. So we'll go ahead and select that. Now again, this won't give you the full version of Elasticsearch. Hold on, click on here. It won't give you the full version, but we'll give us something for us to give it a free trial and for us to connect to. Now, since I'm going to be using this deployment for a couple other virtual meetups, I'm just going to call it Remote Reserve. I'm going to go select the region that's closest to me. And I'm going to use the default IO optimized, but just show you, I'm just go ahead and customize deployment. So normally if you have the full version, you can go ahead and select between one zone or two zones, increase the memory. Our machine learning is something that's included, not only free trial, but included as a part of the service. And that's more like the anomaly detection. And of course, we can always increase that by just grabbing it and pulling it over. But since we have just the trial version, it's just only give us 1 gig, which is plenty. For our use case here. And of course, it deploys a master node, Kibana, and our application performance monitoring. I'm going to create deployment here. And you notice on the right-hand side, it kind of gives a breakdown of what the cost would be. Obviously, if it was not a trial account. All right, and our deployment's being created here. You notice that the username is Elastic, and it provides you a password. So once this is done, I'll go ahead and copy it. For whatever reason, if you lose it, if you come over to the left side, you can hit security, and then reset password, and you'll get a brand new password for that username Elastic. But we're going to be using that as a part of our workplace search YAML file. You'll notice on the right-hand side, once the Kibana fully deploys and Elasticsearch is up and running, you can just hit launch Kibana, and then you can start, enter in the username Elastic and the password, start visualizing your data. And you can preload some data, or maybe load some data of your own. We're not going to be using Workplace Search uses Elasticsearch just as the back-end search engine. So the Workplace Search UI has its own user interface. So once this is done deploying here, I'm going to go ahead and copy the password so we can enter that into the UI, or excuse me, the YAML file. Now, if we go over to the installation instructions here, or installing Workplace Search, you can see it gives you kind of a good breakdown of this. So right now we only support for local installations of Linux and Mac, no Windows. We recommend about 4 gigs. 6 if you also have Elasticsearch running on the same, and kind of a breakdown of memory configuration there. You can go back over to the beta page here, and the current version is 7.6, and within the future, near future, it'll be GA. And notice we'll have Java 8 or Java 11 as a prerequisite. One last requirement is having the Elastic Platinum license. So by default, we provide a 30-day trial license just for you to try out Workplace Search. I'm using the trial license for the demo today, but if you find the solution beneficial, then I would encourage you to learn more about it. You can also build a similar solution just using our open source stack, right? The ELK stack. That's something that you can kind of build, use, and provide your employees with a search bar. So back to Java, pull up my terminal here. So now I'm going to go ahead and show you, I just installed Java version 8 here. So it's Java-version. And I'm 1.8, and it's U241. And let me go ahead and clear this out. And then now, what I've done is I've copied over the enterprise. So I've downloaded that, and I've uploaded it as a tar GZ. So I'm going to go ahead and let me go back to home, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit clear, just so we have a clear screen. And then now that I have Java installed, obviously, one of the things obviously it says to install and run Elasticsearch. Again, you can run that locally as a container or on bare metal, but we've done our Elasticsearch cloud installation, so we don't need the step number 2. For step number 3, what we're going to be doing is configuring the enterprise search YAML file. And I'll show you what we'll be using here on our slide deck. And once we're added the configuration pieces, then we'll go ahead and start the service. So this is the configuration we'll be using for our enterprise search YAML file. So you'll notice here that we have the authentication source, which is standard. We'll be using the Elastic username, and this is that cloud password that you saw within when we're setting up the cloud environment. And of course, we're going to set the allow settings modification to be true, so we're going to allow Workplace Search to make changes to Elasticsearch. and this is the cloud UID, which is the elastic.host. If you install it locally or as a container somewhere, then that's the host IP address and port that you'll be connecting to. And of course, the enterprise search.external URL, this is the URL that I'm going to be connecting to for the web browser. So this is my local workplace search deployment. So some of the connectors, and we'll go through it, some of the connectors require, if it's not localhost for testing purposes, for example, you have a local host on port 3002, it require an HTTPS. And I want to go a little bit more into detail on, I wanted to be able to be accessible externally, not just localhost. So I went ahead and set up a certificate for SSL and TLS communication. And I set up this host with a host name of workplace search democobar.com. And then, of course, the workplace service is going to be over port 3002. And the enterprise search listen host, the IP address, what I did is I just said all interfaces, which is 0.0.0.0, and the listening port, which is 3002. So what we're going to do is we're going to edit this YAML file with our configuration information here. So I'm going to cd into our enterprise-search folder, and you untar it, it makes us that another folder. And within the config folder, you'll see that we're going to vi the enterprise-search.yaml folder. So we're going to go ahead and paste that right here in the YAML file. And I'm going to very, very briefly go through the rest of the configuration here of the YAML file, not too much detail. We hardly recommend not to modify anything within the Elasticsearch side. Elasticsearch Workplace uses its defaults very well. It's a solution that's kind of built. It takes a lot of the guessing work out. But let's go ahead and start to skim down. Again, this would be where you would configure your local Elasticsearch instance. If you had any SSL certificates to connect to it, that's where you configure it here. If you kind of go down to host networking, we've already pasted those pieces up there. This would be like the external URL and the listening port and IP address. That would be something you would put here. Again, your local host would be probably the easiest if you're just evaluating it. If you had any type of SAML user or authentication, you can kind of configure it here, which is good. Now, one thing is when you wanted to specify how many CPU workers, you can do it there. One thing is, if I'll scroll down here, the mailer is important. If you want to invite people to be part of this, you want to configure the SMTP information, which I don't have access to SMTP, so I'm not going to configure it. You want to set logging level to, let's say, debug if it's not starting, or where the logging is going to be located to. That's where you would configure this as well. And rotation. And here's where we're going to configure our TLS configuration here. So let me go to that slide deck. All right, and this, oh, here we go. Now this is the SSL configuration that we're going to be using within the YAML file. Now this is the SSL information that is for the workplace search user interface. If you're using anything but localhost, what will happen is when you're configuring some of the connector types like Dropbox or Github, it won't allow you to put an IP address. So you can do either localhost, or you could do traffic over 443 or secure traffic over HTTPS. So that's why I did a self-signed certificate with the host name, and then I stored that within the key store, and then I set a password for that. And then I did is I edited my Etsy host file for any name resolution to go to that IP address that I have for my virtual machine. But this is the configuration we use within the YAML file. Okay, so we'll go ahead and paste that within the YAML file here. There we are. And I'll go ahead and clean this up. There we go. Oh, and one thing I didn't mention was the format of the self-signed certificate. So I did that as a PEM, and then I imported that within the Java key tool or Java key store. So, there'll be some options, some different formats you can use. So now the next thing we need to do is start the service. So you'll notice here there's a startup script that's located within bin. So I'm going to copy that out. Let's go back to the terminal here, and I'll hit clear. And then let me go ahead and just back up one directory because we're in config, and clear that out. And I'll go ahead and paste that startup script. And we can set the password here. I'm going to set it as password1cobar. And it doesn't show you here, but the default username is enterprise_search. Let's go ahead and press enter. And it shows the Java version we're using, which is Java version 8, which you can also use 11. And one thing I'm doing here is I'm just kind of looking at it's starting up. So once you'll notice, once the service is up and going, you'll kind of see some dashes that go across. And then what I do is I like to grab there's a secret key and a secret management key, which will keep your users' sessions persistent on restart. So once you grab those keys, then you can actually put that back within the YAML file on persistence, so you don't have to worry about them losing data once you restart it. And of course, I'm just running this this executable right now just so you can kind of see it. Otherwise, you can also run this as a service or in the background. Yeah, so it should come up here any second now. But you can see here host, all listening on all ports, and then there's the port number. Oh, there you go. And you can kind of see those dash, and it said it had a certificate generated. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll back up here and grab that. I won't configure that for this demo, but just in case I want to do it later, I have it here. Oops. There you go. There's a key and the management, so we can copy that off. And now the service should be started. So now if I open, let's see here, if I open a tab, there we go, https:// workplace search demo cobar.com, and that's going to be port 3002. Press enter, and of course it's a self-signed certificate, so we're going to go ahead and accept, and then accept the risk and continue. And there we are. So the username is going to be that enterprise_search, and the password is going to be that password1cobar we did. And let's go ahead and log in. All right, and there we are. So this is the homepage or the welcome screen that you get. And here we can kind of see active users, which is only one, which is me. Any invitations that are active. If we had SMTP configured, you can do that there. Any customizations or shared sources are configured or a recent activity. So it's kind of a nice little splash page. But let's go ahead and connect our first source. We're going to do Dropbox. Now, if you don't see anything on the list that you want, there's a custom API towards the bottom. And one of the things is I already logged into Dropbox. So when I select here, this is how to configure it. But we'll go into some more details. Let me go back to our page here. Dropbox.com, and then developers and app. And it's going to take me directly to the page where I can start creating a new app. And one of the things I want to do is the Dropbox API, full Dropbox for the access. And then I'm going to name my app. And I'm going to go ahead and select to create the app here. And you'll notice here there's the app key and secret key, which we'll need later. And here's the redirect URL. Now the redirect URL is going to be, if it's not localhost, it could be HTTP, but notice it says HTTPS. That's for, if it's anything other than localhost. But I'm going to come back here and notice the URL here is going to give us a clue of what our URL to redirect here. So I'm going to copy that and I'm going to place that here. One thing I need to do is also put /Dropbox and then create. And I'm going to go ahead and add that there. That looks good. And then one other URI that we have to do. It's the same, with the exception we want to remove the org. So it should just be WS. Let's see here. /sources/Dropbox/create. I'm going to add here. All right, great. So these are the redirect URIs that the workplace is going to use. So I'm going to copy my client. So if I configure Dropbox, I'm going to copy my client ID. And then we have their client secret. So we're going to go back and we're going to show, and I copy that. And of course, after this, I'm going to go and change this so there's no malicious activity. All right, save configuration. And it says configured. Now let's go ahead and connect that. So we have to connect our Dropbox here and be able to pull data in. So I'm going to go ahead and log back in, enter my Dropbox password. Now the app's going to be untrusted because you can either have the option to either make it external, which goes through the process, or not. So we're just going to go ahead and allow on both of those. This is an internal one. We know the risks. Great. So it looks like we successfully connected. Notice the status is just currently uploading sync content. But if I go over to my personal dashboard, this is the dashboard as if I was a separate user, I would log into. Oh, it looks like we pulled in 250 documents so far, but it's still coming in. Let's go and go back. It still says 0 on this side. It'll take it just a second to update. All right, well, let's go ahead and configure a few more other sources. So we'll go ahead and hit add content source, and we're going to do GitHub. GitHub is the same type as Dropbox. We have a two-step process. We configure it, and then we connect. So I'm going to go to my GitHub account here. And what I did is I cloned, I made my own GitHub, and I created, for this demo. And what I also did is I cloned a couple repos like the Elasticsearch. But I'm logged in as cobar-workplace-search is my GitHub. But if I come over to settings, applications, new, I'm going to create a new application. And I'm just going to call this application name. Let's see here. Yeah, we'll do demo workplace search test. And then the homepage URL. So this is going to be the organization homepage URL. So you have to have an organization that's a part of it. So if I go back here, so you're duplicating my tab. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my home, and you'll see that organization is called cobar-home. But I can grab that URL from the very top. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. So you have to have an organization to be able to do this. And then I'm going to go ahead and paste, and that's the homepage URL. And I don't need a description here, but I do need that authorization callback URL, similar to what we had in Dropbox. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the workplace search URL here. Let's see here. Oh, there's my cursor. And notice I'm going to go ahead and just copy this URL all the way up to WS. And now I don't need two. Oops, that's Dropbox. Let me go to, here we are. I only need one URL here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit register application and just engine WS. And see we have the client ID and the secret. So I'm going to copy the client ID and then come back over to workplace here and copy that there. And then come back for my client secret. So I need to go back to GitHub. Oops, keep doing that, Dropbox. And then I'm going to go ahead and copy the client secret. And I'm going to go ahead and paste that here. And then go ahead and save configuration. And yeah, now we're configured. Now we just need to connect. And when we connect to GitHub, yep, notice that it's going to ask us for access. We're going to grant access to the organization. And then go ahead and enter my password here. Oops, wrong one. Let me try this one. There we go. All right, cross your fingers. Perfect. And then you can also revoke that later time. But I'm going to go ahead and authorize. And then notice it's going back to our redirect. And then I'm going to go ahead and sync that organization and complete the connection. And fingers crossed. Perfect. And we successfully connected to GitHub. And we're not pulling in documents quite yet. There we go. All right, well, let's go ahead and add one more. Let's do OneDrive. Same process, step 1 and 2 to configure and connect. And of course, it's going to ask for a client ID and a client secret. What's nice here, though, is if you're not really sure on how to do this connection, you can go directly to the documentation or even to the application portal. If you go to the documentation, it takes you directly, opens up a page for you to kind of go through each of these steps. So it looks like I kind of knew what I was doing, but I did this a couple times. But I'm going to log into the portal.azure. That's the first step. I'm going to go ahead and use this demo account of ours since I don't have an account of my own. I'm going to go ahead and select next and then enter the password here. And again, if you need steps to go through this each step by step, you can actually go through the documentation for reference, because setting up apps for each of these different connection types are different, and you'll see that. For example, here, we need to go and scroll down, and I'll see here, within an Active Directory, or Azure Active Directory, you'll be able to add an application. So let's see here. There's Azure Active Directory right. Where is it? Oh, right there. And then what we need to do is go and let's see here, app registrations. Perfect. And that's another demo, but we're going to create our own. So let's see, we're going to call this one Cobar Demo App. And in the instructions, it talks to you about how to set up a multi-tenant. So you want to make sure you select that. And then let's go ahead and register our app, which is right down here. Here we are. And just like the previous configurations, we need the client ID, which I can see the application client ID at the top here. Right here, I'm going to highlight that and then copy. And then go ahead and go back to our client ID, and we'll paste that there. Now we're going to get our client secret. So if we come over, actually, you know what? We need to set up our URI. So let me go ahead and add that real quick. So then now here down below, if you select to add platform, it's going to prompt us what type of platform we want to use. And we want to use the web. So it's going to be part of a web application, but not something that's a mobile or desktop app. And this is where we can enter in our redirect URI. And again, just like how we did for GitHub and OneDrive, we can grab that redirect URI from our workplace search here. So I'm going to go ahead and paste that. And then OneDrive create. So I'm going to go ahead and continue here, or configure. And then we have to add just one more URI. And this is all within instructions. Oops. So only one I'm going to do is get rid of the org. So it's the same. There we are. So now we have the WS and our org. So we have two of those, and that's very similar to how we did in Dropbox. So when we hit save, now let's go ahead and go back to, we're going to have to create our secret. There's the client secrets here, so I'm going to go ahead and select new secret. I don't have to give it a description, but I'll keep it as a 1-year expiration. And then now I can just go ahead and copy to clipboard here and go over to client secret, and then we'll go ahead and hit save configuration. So that's configured. Let's go ahead and connect. And connect to OneDrive. And of course, it's going to ask us what account to use. We're just going to use that enterprise search account that we have. And then we're going to connect on behalf of organization. Of course, there's kind of gives you an idea of what access is required. And again, this is an internal app. We haven't published it or made it external. That's why there's a lot more authorizations there. Well, perfect. Notice that, let me go ahead and refresh. Perfect. So it looks like we have 400 documents in Dropbox, 2 in GitHub, and 19 within OneDrive. Now, if we come over to the application search, this is kind of what your users are going to see. Now we have all these contents, the name of the documents and the type all pushed within this search box. So we want to do images in Dropbox. It's going to show us anything with like JPEG or PNG or PDF. When we change it to Dropbox, let's do images in OneDrive. And looks like we have one. So let's say that we want to look at all sources. We can start categorizing the different media types. So on the left-hand side, you'll see, we have JPEG, PNG, all configured. But there's a lot of different types. Maybe we're looking for a doc or an MP4 or text or a movie. If we know the file type, maybe we can do that. If we want to look for PDFs, we can look through all the PDFs or PNGs. But we can add additional sorts like MP4. I know maybe this was an MP4 file that we want, and here's kind of some of the listings there. So there's a lot of different things that you can, narrow your search by. But if we want to search just for MP4, we can put that at the top, and we see that through Dropbox. There's a couple of MP4s that are listed. Let's say we don't want to do MP4. Let me think of another search. Let's say, hey, I know the document may be like tech marketing. And tech marketing might be a folder, might be a document name, might be a department. So this is something that we can kind of take a look through. One other thing we can probably look for is if we go all the way back to our main page here. Again, this gives us a lot of different flexibility on how to search for that. But if we come back, let's take a look at how to manage some of this stuff. If we go to groups, you can set up different group levels. And if you want maybe some organizations to have access to certain data versus not, you can kind of create those groups and then assign different sources to have access to that. If one thing we configure the SMTP, one thing to do is we can invite users in or send them an email invite to come in. For security, you also can then restrict certain documents from coming in. You can also create different relevancy or weights for the documents, meaning that you can put more of an emphasis on Dropbox versus on GitHub, for maybe some of the Office users. If you need to ever make any configuration changes, you can do that here within settings. Sorry, I'm a little over time, so I'm trying to wrap this up a little more quicker. But if you have any questions at the end of this, we can definitely go back and take a look. Let's see here. So yeah, under details, we can grab some different source settings. If we need to change the client ID or the client search, we can edit that configuration here and then go ahead and update if we needed to. So if you need to revoke access or create a new one. Okay, well, that's the end of the demo. I did want to kind of leave a couple of closing pieces here. One of it's obviously getting help, and how to get help. There's a lot of different resources like documentation. As you can see, as we're going through the demo, there's a lot of different step-by-step on how to configure something. If you always get stuck, there's other places to go other than the documentation. And one of those other places that you can go is within our Discuss forum. In our Discuss forum, let me advance the slide here. There we go. Is our Discuss forum, and our Discuss forum is a great place to get information on questions, issues. Talk with the developers or with the support side. Obviously, we support the open source Elk stack here, so this is a fantastic place to get additional information. You can kind of break it down by product and get a lot of useful information. And of course, when we're not socially isolating ourselves, maybe we can one day come together. We also have meetups, which you can go to community.elastic.co and participate maybe in a meetup local to you. So you can get a chance to speak with other people within the community about their use cases, get some ideas on how they're using Elasticsearch. There's a lot of different aspects about coming together and doing that. Or maybe it's something that you want to host one day. So that's something you can also, there's nothing that's local to your area, you can do that. Of course, we have official training through Elastic. I know during this pandemic, Elastic Training is also offering free training, so that's something definitely to check out. But for training, specifically, you can go to training.elastic.co. It's a fantastic resource for, uh, you know, specific use cases or definitely products. Finally, we have our Elastic Slack, which is elasticstack.slack.com. So we have our Slack channel. So if you need questions again on any of the products, open source software that Elastic creates, you can definitely go ahead and sign in and check out the different channels. And there's a lot of different questions of anything from advanced questions or very basic. So don't feel bashful. Definitely come on in, answer some questions, and help out. So it's I think our user community's definitely asked for that for quite a bit. So we're really happy to do that. So thank you. Hopefully you enjoyed the presentation. I know we kind of went through it pretty quick, but I'm open for any Q&A questions that you may have. But yeah, that was kind of the end of the demo. Again, that was just for the internet here on my house. It's if you have obviously I recorded some of that, and if you have any questions, I do have the actual environment up. One of the things that was not quite shown during that was like the relevancy scoring. Like if you really wanted to have to tune what your users are getting back from in terms of for certain departments that are, let's say, in accounting or HR, and a lot of those documents are probably not in GitHub, then you might want to have the relevancy score for that organization to be higher within Dropbox or through OneDrive or some of the other document-based stores. And maybe for your developers, you want to increase the relevancy score on like GitHub or Jira or some of the other pieces. So, and again, I really want to make sure I try to come underneath the 1 hour mark, just for people's time, because I want to make sure that everyone gets some good information and relevancy. But if you have any other questions or anything else, you can put it in chat, or you can I can try to unmute everyone here. So you do that here. Does anyone have any questions? Well, thanks again for your time. Have a good day.